Hey everybody, I just wanted to give you a tour of a online classroom run through Google Classroom to give you some ideas as to how you may want to structure your courses. So, you know that Google Classroom is divided into the stream, which is our announcements that are blasted out to everybody who's enrolled in the class, and then classwork, which we'll get to in a minute. I use my Google Stream here to do a daily announcement that kind of sums up what we did that day and what students saw. It reminds them, for example, each week I post my office hours that I'm going to be online and available for the summer class, but also reminders about how to do things or if I have to make corrections. So every day at the end of the day, which is 5 o'clock, is my end of day for this class, I shoot out as kind of just a summative announcement of where we are as a group, reminders that things that people are falling behind on, or answering some questions that came up during the day. So I strongly encourage you to do that. Not only does it keep you as a presence in front of the students, but it also gives them a reference point you can direct them to if they ask you a question about something. You can say, go back and look in the stream and you will find the answer. So let me take you into the classroom itself. Now, my class is divided into modules. I am a module person because that's how my brain works. So my first module is set up just as an introduction. And with every module, I have a learning objective. That's my big picture of what students should learn by the time they complete all the steps to the module. And then my learning goals, which is where I take this big picture idea and I break it down into smaller, more manageable chunks. So that helps me figure out what I need to do in this module, what I need to achieve, and later on with assessment, what I need to assess. It also lets the students know what to expect and what they should be walking away from. For this particular module, this is almost exclusively informative. I have a short video that welcomes them to the summer class. It is no more than 15 minutes. You'll see all of our videos are no more than 15 minutes long. It explains who I am, gives my background, talks a little bit about what we're going to be doing in the summer class, the logistics of how it's going to operate, and then I give them some tips for online learning. Things like turn off your cell phone or put it away in a drawer somewhere because it's going to become a distraction to you. Don't do your schoolwork while you're sitting up in bed. Find an environment that feels a little more academic. Things like that. That's what's in that video. And because this course is tied to a class I teach during the semester, I also do a brief introduction of my whole semester. This is what to expect from, in this case, United States History AP. In essence, this is a PowerPoint walking them through points that would be covered in a syllabus. I've also just used the syllabus and screencasted it and went through the parts, but I felt the PowerPoint was better for that. We have a couple tools that we use and refer to in our course. We have a curriculum framework. We have end of lesson questions, which are their homework assignments. And then we have a variety of types of assessments. So I have a video explaining to them how to use all of these tools and walk through it step by step. This is how to read it. This is what you'd use it for. This is how to complete it. So if a student ever has questions, they can go back and see that. Now, every module, I have a self-assessment section. And in the self-assessment, it's a Google Doc. I can open it. And it's based on those objectives. And I ask questions of things that the students should have picked up by the time that they watched all of the introductory videos. And I tell them in the self-assessment, if they don't get at least half the questions right, or in this case, 4 out of, I think there were 10 questions, go back and watch these particular videos again. In the video on assessment, I'll talk a little bit about how to use that. And then finally, I used a questions. This is, if you go into Google and create a question, you can post for students to answer. And these Google questions I use as discussion boards. So in this particular case, I say at the end of every module, what questions do you have? And then students can post their replies to that, and then I answered those posts. You can also set it up so they can reply to each other, or they can post their answer, but they can't see classmates' responses until they posted theirs. So if you were asking a question where you wanted like a current events thing, or you just don't want them to cut and paste somebody else's pat response, you can set it up so they can't see the other responses until after they post. You can also have them comment on each other's responses within those questions. So I'm sure many of you have used discussion boards, but that's a great way to facilitate conversation among your students. If you're doing a blended class, you can still use the same discussion boards and have your A and B students post and have them comment on each other's posts. Now, the next part for me is historical context. It's the videos, the content videos. But again, I start off with the objectives. My learning goals are much shorter here. And then I have an overview video of this module saying, here's all the different components. This is what you need to do. This is what you can expect by the time you are finished with this. And then I've got the videos they're going to watch and then their questions. And this is an opportunity for an assignment, because they can watch the videos and then they can complete an assignment. And then that is at the bottom. And I'm very clear, this is something you're going to submit to be scored. I don't use the term grading, I use the term scoring. And it's got a rubric attached, which if you watch the series of videos on Google Rubrics, it'll show you how to make that. So that's the basic structure for most of my stuff. It starts off with the module, then the video overview, which tells them what to expect for each module, the instructional video. In this case, it's a writing course, so I also have an instructional video on how the rubric works, the self-assessment to make sure they understood the main points I wanted them to understand. And then in the live ones, which are practicing rather than just informational, I have an assignment that's an optional practice assignment. I make it optional because this is an optional summer course. You may require practice. It's an assignment doing the task I want them to have learned. They submit it and I can give them feedback on it. It's not a scored assessment. It's a formative. Then opportunities for questions that they might have, and then they can do the final task. And this is the one that is scored for them. And so that pattern repeats. Again, your objective, your instructional video. This one doesn't have an overview because the next three are the same. So my overview's up there. Your optional practice, your questions, and then your submitted. And then that repeats throughout all of the modules. It gives students a sense of continuity. They know the steps that they're going to go through for each module. And it allows them to get some real world experience before they start turning stuff into score. So if you have questions about how I've got this classroom structured, I'd be glad to answer that for you. Module structure is entirely up to you. This one is topical. I'm thinking in the fall semester, I'm probably going to do a week at a time as my modules. So that students can find information better and that they can have specific deadlines attached to it. So if you have any questions at any time, feel free to ask, and I will be glad to answer those questions for you about how to structure a Google Classroom. Go out, have fun with it. It's a great experience, and the nice thing is once it's done, it's done. You can copy these classes year after year after year and just make the tweaks that you need to. So thanks a lot, everybody, and have a great day.